Now, what's happening this week? What's happening today? This week, we're moving towards public victory now. We're moving towards the interpersonal relationships. Why is it structured this way, right? The question is, why do we do first private, then public? Well, that's because without having the solid foundation as our private victory, and without having a strong character, we can't really build our character and strong foundation in our public area, right? It's like if our foundation, private victory is our foundation for daily lives in our buildings. Without this strong foundation of the buildings, whenever we interact with other people, we're going to reflect the scars within us and we're not going to know what to do. So it's actually very important, the previous parts that leads to this part. And today, as we're moving towards the public victory, this is the fun part now, because now we get to interact with people. We get to learn more about the interactions and have really see a huge effect on how this all tie back together. Okay, so what is the goal for today, right? Goal for this week is to live out a principle. This principle is called win-win principle. You see, I believe that there's a set of truth, a set of principles that we all follow. We either follow ourselves or we follow a set of principle, an inner directive principle. And the goal of this week is to follow this set of win-win principle that expands in our interactions so that we can be more effective when we're dealing with people. So we're moving towards people now. So this is the roadmap. It has trees, it has mountains, it has roads. How do we achieve our goal of establishing that principle into our daily lives this week? First, I want to propose, right, the difference between competition and cooperation. And then we'll go into deeper onto the fundamentals. What does win-win mean? And what are the different types of interactions out there? There's 6 different types. Also, why is win-win important, right? Why is interacting with people important? Very interesting question. Then we'll talk about how we can establish win-win in our lives, okay? How to achieve it. We don't want to just know it's important and not have an action plan. We want to know how to get from point A to point B. And there are 5-step process of how to achieve this. Okay, we call it 5 components, 5 dimensions in this case. We'll address the first 3 mostly, because at the end, we'll establish some accountability, some win-win accountability, right? We've been doing this a little bit in the past, and we're still going to do this now. If you think this is helpful, right, I want to just highly encourage you to stay at the end until we get to the accountability. Why is this, right? It's because we're not just here to look at the PowerPoints and look at whatever the words on there, but rather this PowerPoint, and I hope me, can serve as a resource to our higher goal in whatever we want to achieve, right? Our goal is to establish the principles into our lives. Our goal is to establish this win-win principle. To do so, this is only one of the tools. So is accountability, but it's the day in and day out. So we see that this hour, right, even though it's just 1 hour, but we can set up the entire week next week with accountabilities, with the right principle through this hour, right? So just before I begin, right, I just want to make sure that we get on the same page. If there's any questions with this, if not, please just give me a thumbs up and we can go about our business. Thumbs up, thumbs up. Thank you. Thank you so much. Okay. Any questions maybe? Thumbs up. Okay, let's go then. Let's go into this. Okay, so first, oh, also, sorry, I forgot. We also attached a mission statement here. This is something that we worked on together for personal and interpersonal, right? Including some key components that we all agree upon. Just want to remind everyone. So first, right, how should we begin this? I want to first start off a story about a law class that I took. You see, if you've ever heard about laws, right, chances are you probably heard that it's highly competitive area. A couple days ago, I was researching about this topic and about law, and I found some very surprising researches about, right, this so-called law system, people taking law classes. They're so competitive that rumors said they bring 2 sets of notes to the study sessions. One set is for themselves, the correct one, while the other set is for their peers, the incorrect ones. What do they do with the 2 different sets? Well, in order to be the fittest to survive, right? They study the notes, the correct set for themselves, while passing the note, their incorrect set to their peers. So the peers study the wrong set of laws. Why is this? Because apparently it's very, very highly competitive area. And people think that if this person, my peer, does really, really good, then the chances of me succeeding goes very, very low, right? There's only a limited amount of resources for law business. So I took a class about business law to challenge this idea. I didn't know if it's true. At UCLA, there's offered business law classes, and I signed up last quarter. In the first day, the professor said, "Hey guys, welcome to this class. You know, whatever you hear about laws, it's not true, right? I encourage collaboration. I encourage everyone collaborating together because we learn the best when we study with each other." I think, yes, of course, I'm dying to learn about this law and business. Please, let's do this. I want to learn more about classes. I want to get to know my classmates. However, right, after a while, I took homework. I really tried to do good on the midterm, but it was a tough midterm and people didn't do so well. And after midterm, everyone's kind of confused and upset of what's going on. Professor said, no worries, right? We're gonna curve this. It's okay. 10% of you will get an A. Right? It doesn't matter how low everyone is, right? We'll make sure that 10% of you gets an A. Well, she means it in a good way that, hey, we'll curve the entire class. But in my mind, right, what do we think when we know that 10% of the 100 highly motivating students, only 10% will get an A? That moment, I realized what's going on with this class. I realized that, well, I felt, right, I felt kind of in a low trust environment all of a sudden. What if my classmate want to be one of the 10% and they don't offer any help? What if I want to get be the 10% and don't expect me to offer any help, right? What are the resources I can do that can trust? Right? What are the things that we can create together? This is pretty confusing because I didn't know how to move forward together now. I kind of have this trust issue with the class, you see, because it's very, very competitive now. So what is going on here? All right, what is going on here? This class, even though the professor encourages collaboration, this class is actually an example of competition, example of what's going on in a lot of classes and interactions with our lives, thinking that only a small set of groups wins. And when they do, it means the rest people loses. This is a very, very common thing. But then I also took a class at UCLA about technology and e-commerce. Now, this class is very interesting because it was the first class I ever took, right, in the beginning of quarantine. I didn't know what to expect. Professor, the first day, also said the similar things. He set some objectives. Now, what are the objectives that he set that was different than the previous class, right? He said, hey guys, this class is all about groups. We encourage collaboration, but you'll be graded upon your weekly assignments. You'll be graded upon your final group presentation. A huge one is called Economics in Action. Okay, and there's a group grading system, meaning that everyone's going to get the same grade. So those people who are slacking off, who wants to ride the free wave, it's your job to make sure they don't do that, because whatever the average between you guys are the grades for everyone. If one person slack off and fail, chances are, right, the entire group grade is going to be the same. And it's going to fail too. After midterm, it's also kind of tough, and we were a little bit demoralizing because it was a group assignment. Professor recognized that it's really hard to do this online, and he also said something. He said, here, let me lay this down for you. This set of objectives are what you need to get an A, because our goal is to learn more about technology and e-commerce. And these objectives, if you've done well, checklist, right? That shows that you understand about technology and e-commerce. And that's what an A needs. To get these, right? Here's the resources that you can use, including myself. I hope to be resources, get an A, or get whatever you want, right? I hope to help you get there. Now, whatever you gotta do, here are the guidelines, here are the resources, and here are the objectives. and I'm the resource. And I'm here to help you. Okay. So what happened here? Well, at the end, everyone, I remember that class in the beginning, as we were interacting, it was kind of a slower process as we're gauging each one differently and trying to understand how to work in groups on Zoom. But at the end, we're so efficient and effective that we're able to do our final presentation, right, with such a shorter amount of time than ever before. We're able to get it together, right, combine different perspectives and create an energizing and synergy idea that me personally, I could never think of. And our final presentation, actually, we did on Zoom. It's about Zoom. We did a history of Zoom and how it's projected to the future. And I still remember very, very clearly of the two people in my group a year ago and the project that we did together. And it ingrained in me this sense that win-win, this collaboration, cooperation is possible. So why is this important? Why am I sharing these two stories, right? You see, we interact with people every single day. Even in quarantine, we're social animals and we have a lot of interactions. There are a lot of mostly competitive interactions, however. I believe that our society is basically telling us through whatever that we have, right? That we're highly competitive. For example, football games. People love watching football games, and this is not a collaboration. I mean, people competing for this one final reward, right? Super Bowl. For example, school system, the schools that we go to, collaborations actually a sign of cheating. We're not meant to collaborate together, right? We're competing for whoever has the highest GPA. The job market, they see people who have high GPA, high resume. That's what's attractive. So ingrained in us is a sense of competition, not collaboration. Well, I agree that competition is important, right? We need competition to survive. We need competition to be a secure place in the world. However, to thrive, we need something greater. To create synergy, create trust, we need something that's more than just competition. And that is why, right, in this interdependent world, cooperation is more and more important. Okay. So what does that mean for us? Well, that means the goal of today isn't just to recognize the competition and cooperation, okay, but to recognize how can we cooperate? How can we maximize? How can we create synergy with the people that we interact with? Even though, right, we might be stuck in quarantine, but how can we create synergy with the amount of relationships that we have so it can be more effective with our inner relationships, with our what we do every single day, and just in general. Okay, so that's the goal. I want to pause here for a second before we move on into the next step, right? How to solve this question, to recognize that if there's any questions with the definitions of cooperation and competition, if not, we can move on. Actually, if not, please type in the chat. Cooperation. Let's do cooperation. Please type in chat cooperation if we want to go on with cooperation and understand a little more about this. Okay. Let's move on then. I'm excited. Okay, Cindy says have to attend another. Thank you so much, Cindy. Hope you have a good rest of your Saturday and looking forward to catching up with you soon. Thank you. Yes, so cooperation. Yes, Winnie, I was just asking, right, if we need any definition for competition, cooperation. Just want to pause here to make sure that we are on the same page before we move on to the next section, right? But if not, then we can jump right on to the next section. Sorry, I don't know which part. Wait, Winnie, did your internet cut out in the beginning or did it cut out just now?
It cut out at unfortunately most of what society like at that line, but I think I can
Okay.
catch up.
Okay. So we're basically explaining, right, the objectives for the next period, which is to understand how we can maximize through cooperation. Because even though competition is what survival needs, in order to thrive and create synergy, we need a higher level of relationship which is the cooperation. That's basically the gist of what just happened. Uh, is that good? Can we move on to the next slide? Okay, thanks, Mom. Okay, let's move on then, Vinny, and let me know if anything, I can send you a recording as well. But let me know. Oh, sorry. So what's going on right here, right, guys? What's going on with these pictures? Well, before we really understand that question, I think it's important to look at some fundamentals, meaning the different types of interactions. You see, something that my mentor, right, Dr. Francis told me is that life isn't just black and white, but there's a lot of grays in between. That's why one of the pictures like kind of grayish. That it's not just win-win. It's not just, hey, you get your path, I got my path, and we get to the same place together. But there's a lot of things in between. And it's in order to truly right realize which one's the best, right? We need to understand every single one of them to make that evaluation for ourselves. And my goal is here is to lay them all down. First one is win-win, the one we just talked about. It's it's about you win, I win, and we both go forward with a win-win attitude. Okay. It's not kind of a fix or personality, but rather philosophy. It's a mindset thinking, hey, it's not your way, my way. It's a both way. It's a better way. It's a highway. Okay. Not highway. It's a better way. Sorry. The second one is win lose. It's at the competition, right? It's showing that, hey, I'm winning, and the only way that I win is on the basis that you're losing. Some example of this could be, for example, the football game that we're talking about, right? Talking about losing because winning because the other team is losing, right? In our study, for example, us getting an A, chances are because of the curve, someone on the other side of the curve is getting a C. That's what win lose means. It means that if we win, the other person loses. Okay. Then we have lose win. This is a very interesting one because we think, why would we lose for other person to win? Well, actually, this is more common than we think most of the times. Sometimes this is saying, hey, I evaluate our relationship more than just this argument. I'd rather take this loss now for this relationship, right? Because I evaluate what's between us better than what's the argument between us. So that's lose win, okay? And now the fourth one is lose lose. Unfortunately, there is a lose lose mentality out there. For example, wars, right? People fighting each other, people destroying each other for their own set of pride or for their own set of um, agenda in the world, resulting lose lose, lose of lives in both nations. Another example was I saw a movie Tenet. Has anyone seen Tenet before? It's the new Christopher Nolan's movie, Tenet. No, has anyone seen Tenet? Do you know what that is? It's like a movie that came out last year. Okay. Anyways, that movie, right? Tenet. No. What is this movie talking about? Well, that movie basically describes a lose lose mentality. One of the characters who is dying of cancer, right? He's saying, if I die, the world goes down with me. If I die, I'm bringing the entire world with me because if I can't have whatever this is, no one else can have it. So that really rings a bell saying, hey, this is lose lose. This is absolutely the worst, right? We don't want lose lose. This is tragic. Fifth one is win. This is kind of the similar to win win, but it focuses just on us winning, one sidedness. It's a selfish kind of win, right? It's saying, hey, I only focus on my win, not on anything else. I've only focused what's in it for me. I don't care if you win or lose, right? It's okay with me. I just want myself to win. And the last but not least, it's win-win or no deal. In the book, it describes that this is a better form of win-win because it's saying that we're going for a win-win, but we also have a backup plan of no deal. If we don't get that win-win that we want to, we can just preserve our relationship and go with no deal. So what's the point in all this? What are we trying to discover in these 6 different types of interaction? Well, we want to find out, right? What's the best? What's the best type of interactions out there? So the question next is, what's the best interaction that we can do? The answer is depends. Each interaction has its place, right? For example, in a football game, we wouldn't want to consider how the other person's benefiting, but rather we just want to get our goal, right? We want our objectives and goal to be seen and to carry it out. So it really depends on whatever the interaction is. What about win, right? The fifth one. Why could that be also important? Well, that's because sometimes, right, if we're in a dangerous situation, if our family is in danger, then the first thing we care about, obviously, is our family, is people around us. We don't have time to care about anyone else, right? That's when it's important. So it really depends on the situation the interaction takes place. Sometimes, for example, the lose win, why would the lose win prevail, right? We want to retain this relationship. That's how we go for lose win. And really depends. However, right, you probably know where I'm going with this. Life is not about just one situation. Okay. I like to share this picture because I think it's pretty accurate of what's going on here. We all want to have our own set of rewards. We all want to have whatever that's in front of us. However, a lot of times, right, we're pulling backwards because our rewards are on the opposite side. So what do? Well, we can go for lose lose, saying, hey, I'm not getting mine, you're not getting yours. We can get it for win lose, saying, hey, I'm going to push really, really hard and get mine so you don't get yours. But what these two did is, right, they're saying, okay, we're going to cooperate. We're going to get yours first. We both eat, then we're going to do this. So we share your hay and we share mine. We get two of the same kind, okay? We get the best out of both. That's cooperation. So what am I saying? What is this suggesting, right? It's saying that life isn't just a one and done. Life isn't just a football game. It's more than that. It's a long-term game and it's highly interdependent. In order, right, to go through it, we need sustainability. We need things that last for a long term. We can't just think in the moment of what's the best in the moment, but rather in the long term. I remember talking to Dr. Francis about this a couple days ago about win-win, and she said something about leadership. The leadership a lot of times is taking the short-term sacrifice now and then to reap the long-term benefit in the future. Leadership sometimes is to take the loss now, right? Even though it seems like a loss, but really is a win in the future. That strikes me because it's true. Because that's what we're here for. We're here to build long and lasting sustaining relationships, to build win-win relationships. Sometimes it means sacrificing our own hate in the short-term moment to go for the hate together, because then we can go for all of them. Yeah. So another point though is saying that anything other than a win-lose is actually lose-lose. What does that mean? What does that mean that anything other than a win-lose is actually lose-lose? That means, right? For example, in a marriage, we can't say, hey, I'm winning in the marriage, that the other person's losing. We can't just say one side is winning in the marriage. I don't know about marriage, but that's what the books suggest. It's saying that in a marriage, right? Either both sides win at the same time or both sides loses. There's no lose-win in marriage, but win-win at the same time, lose-lose. It's saying that even though we might win at this time and the other person might lose, but over the long term, right? If the other person keeps on losing and lose that trust with us, then we end up losing as well. It's saying that if we go for lose-win, right, we might lose at this moment, they might win, they want to do business with us, or they might want to build this relationship with us. But over the long term, we're not going to feel happy. We can't just keep on going loses. So the only way to sustain a relationship, healthy and lasting relationship, is truly through win-win. That's the only way. Okay. It's not just about what's the better way here, but in the long run, this is the only way. This mindset is the only way that sustains. Right? That's the marriage example. Is saying that we can't just think how much we can win in this situation. But if one side loses, all side loses. right? The only thing that matters is how both sides is winning at the same time. Okay. So the question now is, right, how do we create and sustain? How do we create and sustain win-win relationships? Okay. How do we not just think about now, but sustain it in the future? Well, that is the habit number 4 in the books. It said think win-win. And that's the goal for today. We want to create and sustain win-win relationships, not just here, not just between us, but I hope that it starts with us and into every area of our lives. It starts with all of us into hopefully, right, our family, our school, create win-win with our professors, whoever that's around us. That's the goal today. In order to do so, right, there's 5 dimensions to win-win. Okay. And what are the 5 dimensions? This is a chart from the book. It's saying pretty well the 5 dimensions. However, right, we'll only cover the top 3 because I think the time is pretty limited. And I think the top 3 are the things that are, right, will move us forward enough. The first 3 are character, relationship, and agreement. We'll dive deeper into each one, explain why each one is important. Most importantly, how can we create this win-win? Okay. First of all, character, right? Dimension 1, character. What does a character mean? Okay, this is what everything we've done up to this point is building us for. Our character, who we are, our private victory. We can't establish win-win if we don't have integrity, if we don't have a value, if we don't know what a win is to us. That's why we create our mission statement. That's why we create our values. That's why we create our plan, right? Because we got to do that first. Now, what's the second one? That leads to our maturity. We can't establish win-win if we're lacking either of those. What's the win-win building upon, right? It's the balance between consideration and courage. Courage is the courage to voice our own opinion, voice our own win, our own value in a relationship, seeing that, hey, this is what I value, this is what I want, this is my win. That's a courage. The higher courage we have, the more win we're gonna have, right? The more likely we're gonna win. However, courage isn't the only thing that we need, because with courage, right, we don't think about the other side. So as we see on this chart, the high courage leads to win on our part, but to reach win-win into this quadrant right here, we need also high consideration. Consideration, self-explanatory in a way. It's saying I'm considering for the other person about their win as well. In order to achieve both win, I need first my character and my courage carry out my win, saying, hey, this is what I want. This is what I need as well, but also consideration for yours. So we carry it out at the same time. What does this mean in terms of the picture we saw before, right? As the 2 donkeys are going for the win-win, one person is being considered, saying that, hey, let's go for this hay together. And then also showing the courage, saying that, hey, we have another one over there that we got to take over. So it's a win-win that we're talking about, the 2 character, okay? So there's one more thing we need for this character, okay? And that is to realize that there's actually a path forward out there, the abundance mindset. You see, in the beginning, we talked about the business law example. Remember how there's only 10% of A's, 10% people get A's. Now, that is a scarcity mindset, right? Because only a limited amount of people can win. Instead, here, we're creating a framework saying it's not just the limited amount, but rather if we join together, there's a synergy. There's an energy that pushes all forward so that we have enough and plenty for everyone involved. That's abundance mindset. Unfortunately, this is something that I also am working towards and working on. One of the things for scarcity mindset also shows through, I think, thinking about other people's wins. A lot of times, if we have scarcity mindset, we think that other people's winning might suggest us losing or might signal us not enough. And it might trigger jealousy deep down, even though on the surface we say congratulations, right? Congratulations on your win. Congratulations on whatever you achieve. But deep down in the surface, we might have this sense of, oh, am I not enough? Oh, am I losing? And I oftentimes had this, right? I oftentimes had this. This is a result of lacking in character. This is a result of lacking in ourselves in the private victory. That is why private victory, right, goes before the public. In order to do win-win and do all of this, we gotta take care of ourselves first to build this strong, relationship with ourselves so that we don't get jealous. We know that we are enough. We know that there's plenty out there and there's a possible way for us to all achieve win-win. That's dimension one. That's dimension one. Any questions, by the way? Okay, so let's move on to dimension two then, right? Dimension two, relationship. In order to create win-win, we also need a dimension of relationship between the people involved. You see, win-win really is, right, a relationship building experience. It's saying we value each other enough to think in our own shoes, in each other's shoes, to create this alternative strategy. It's saying that it's like a piggy bank, right? It's like we have enough in our piggy bank to think about each other, to understand each other, to go for something that's more than just individually can achieve, right? Back at a donkey example, right? It's it's the trust that we have saying, hey, if I go with you to get your hay, we're gonna come back and get ours. It's this trust that make this possible. That's dimension two, relationship. In order to fully understand, right, what relationship constitutes, we have to explain a quick concept of emotional bank account. That's what this is. You see, we all have a bank account, emotional bank account with everyone around us. And this bank account, right, we either make deposits when we do something that make people feel sweet. It's that sweet feeling inside, right? That's a deposit. We do, or we make withdrawal with people when we make them feel they're pushed up against the wall and they're feeling unsafe. That's withdrawal. Relationship, good relationship takes place, win-win takes place only when this emotional bank account is very, very high, right? When this emotional bank account is full, that we feel that it's safe to trust the other person. It's safe that we're identifying this win-win, that we're considering each other. It's safe that we're going for something that benefits both of us. That's the foundation, right? Dimension one, dimension two, or the foundation of a win-win. So, for example, right, if my mom just randomly come up to me, she's saying, "Hey, Danny, can you do something for me real quick?" Right? I I can't tell you what it is, but I need your commitment right now. If my mom, I see Ryan here. What's up, Ryan? How are you?
What's up? What's up, y'all? I just got here like 5 minutes ago. How you guys doing?
Oh, great, 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 great. We're just talking about the second dimensions. Just want to catch you up real quick. This is about win-win, right? This is dimension
Okay.
two, relationship, and we're giving a quick example right now.
Okay. Sounds good. I'm listening.
Okay, thank you, brother. Let me know if you have any questions. Yeah, for example, right? That's a quick example on the relationship. If my mom just come up to me without no reason saying, "Hey, can you do me a quick favor?" Right? My first reaction, of course, would be, "What's going on?" Yes, of course, I'd like to support you if there's anything I can do. That's because I feel a very high emotional bank account with her. I feel that it's safe to trust her that what she needs, right? She really are in need, and I really want to help her. However, if I don't have this emotional bank account with that person comes up to me saying, "Hey, I really need your help. Just I can't tell you why." And if the stranger is saying, "You got to do it right now," chances are I might be skeptical, saying, "Why do I have to do this right now? What's going on? Like, why do we have to do this again?" You see how relationship really creates the difference between trying to understand the other person, the willingness to put ourselves in their shoes, to think, hey, we got to move forward together. That's the second dimension, relationship. Okay. So after relationship, after one and two, right, that's the foundation. We have the third dimension, agreement. This is where, right, everything is set and done, where everything that's cleared up, that's the agreement part. You see, Why is the first two important, right? Because without character and relationship, agreement does very little. Agreement doesn't get us anywhere. If we don't have the character to carry the agreement out, if we don't have the relationship to know that the other person is trustworthy, this doesn't work. However, when we have the character and the relationship with the other person, then this creates massive synergy. This creates a framework. Now, what's the difference between the beginning, right? The two classes that we were talking about. The second class, we had an agreement with the professor. Agreement has 5 parts. Desired results, what are we here for? Guidelines, right? What are the rules? Resources, what can we use? Accountability, what's our standard? How do we evaluate? And consequences, what happens if done or not done well? In the beginning, we saw that in the class that we're describing with a lot of synergy and cooperation, desired results, right? We all want to learn more about technology, right? Guidelines, what are the rules? Well, we're creating groups and we have our weekly assignments. Resources, what can we use? Professor is one of the resources. He offered himself. He made clear the resources we can use. Accountability, what are the standards? He made clear the objectives to what constitute an A, what constitute an excellence in that class. Consequences, right? What happens if we done well? What happens if we don't do well? Done well, obviously, we have a lot of psychological and emotional achievement, getting A in that class, getting really a lot of good things, right? Synergy and achieving, feeling fulfilled. And bad things, right? He also identified the bad consequences of failing that class. Most of the time, consequences are psychological, but we see how by identifying those 5 different components, right, we see a clarity between how we move forward together, what's the common desired result, what are some guidelines so that we make sure we don't step out of what's in everyone's way. What are the resources that we can use to make this happen? What are accountabilities and what are consequences? What's the results of this, right, of agreement? Well, massive synergy, massive creativity, given knowing that we're heading towards this place, knowing that we're giving those resources, and massive innovation, a lot of trust, and a lot of growth. You see, in that class that we were talking about, the second class, technology, we were able to get done between the 3 of us that the 3 individuals, if we do it individually, right, could not be done in 2 quarters. We finished it in less than a quarter. And at the end, we talked about what's going on in other classes, how we can transfer this into other classes, because this truly is a very, very effective way of moving forward together. That's why what's bringing us here today, right? We still have, I think it's 55 now. We have 5 more minutes. We still have one last slide to go through. But before we go through that slide, I just want to pause for one last time to make sure that we're all on the same page, okay, to make sure that we're on this agreement together, to make sure that we understand what we're getting into for the next week, right? Establishing win-win, we're establishing this principle into our lives, right? Is there any concern that you might have, or is there any questions that needs to be clarified? What we're doing? Now's a great time to ask. No, no questions today, which is awesome, by the way. I just want to make sure. Okay, so Samira, do you have anything on your mind that you want to say? Okay. All right, I guess we'll move forward then. What's happening at the end, right? Well, this is basically the same framework, but what I hope to do with the last 5 minutes is to set up accountabilities with exact 5 points between us to say, hey, we just heard about this incredible, right, new strategy called win-win. And we have this desired result of trying to incorporate this win-win into our lives. How do we move forward, right? And I want to actually invite my mom. here. Thank you so much, Princess Ai. I want to invite my mom here to describe a little bit about, me and her, we established this agreement a couple of days ago, and she wrote up actually an agreement contract for me to sign. So, Mom, why don't you describe a little bit about what's going on here? I'll translate for you. Then we can separate into groups, and then we can carry this out together as groups, right? Accountability groups. Right? Does that make sense, Mom? Yes, please go ahead.
Yes. Yeah, thank you. At first, I should say thank you, Danny. You give me the chance to practice win and win in our life.
Oh my gosh,
The
thank you.
first thing I
Uh-huh.
should do next week. I push myself to find at least the 5 things to win, 5 win and win things.
Yeah, win-win relationships, right? 5 win-win relationships.
Relationships or things. For
Mhm.
example, I'm thinking in the next week we totally have 7 days,
Mhm.
and I push myself try to find. So at first I write down some agreement. Agreement is mean 协议, right?
Yes, say.
Yeah. Danny and me have a win-win agreement. I promise Danny, I want to practice the lessons, the lesson. So I promise Danny in the next week I will finish. I will try to find 5 win-win things. So I think I already write down. And first, for my own brother, I have something to do for my brother, and for my original family, and then I about my daughter's behavior. I want to have a deep
Conversation.
conversation with my daughter, and the result I want to win and win, and then I have a plan to between all our family. I mean, you are my husband, me, and my daughter, and my son. We should set up our family's value.
Family values.
I think it's important.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to save my family member. Family member to agree my desire.
Okay.
And then the fourth win-win thing I think is it's about our future, our family's future. For example, your daddy's
business
future. I maybe retired future. Your sister's future. So I think it's so excited for me. So I'm trying to pursue your sister, your daddy, agree, and we will choose a time to have a meeting, have our family meeting. And then the fifth thing, right? Five.
Yeah, number 5. Yeah, the last thing.
Number 5. I'm still thinking.
Okay, no worries.
But
sorry, Mom.
I think I promise between maybe before the accountability, whoever I don't know, I will accountability with whoever. But I promise I will bring my agreement to show my cooperation.
Yes. Okay. Awesome. So just to add on to that, great job, by the way, Mom. Well, my mom what she describes are the 5 different win-win relationships that she is going to do next week. I believe that is to the accountability. Okay, Daniel jetted. Okay, bye, Daniel. Okay, so I believe that is the accountability, the guideline and the value, the 5 different accountabilities to do, right? However, here we also have desired results, guideline, resources, and consequences. So for accountability, she's saying that by next week, she will have 5 different relationships that she will approach with a win-win kind of a mindset, right? And those were the 5. But let's give everyone kind of what are like the desired requirements or results, guidelines, and resources. I hope that we can establish it together. We have 7 people right now, so we can establish maybe into a couple groups, and then we can go about this. Okay, if you want to participate in this accountability next week, to both within the groups establish your desired results, right? Guidelines, resources, accountability, and consequences. Desired results, it can be something like incorporating win-win into our lives, incorporating that into what we do every single day, because it's truly the only way to move forward in the long term. The guidelines could be the extent to this win-win goes, right? Our family, what about our relationships? How does it go? And that's for us to decide. Resources, what can we use? Here, before we go into the groups, I just want to offer myself up as a resource that we can all use to make this even sometimes clear. And okay, see you, Brian. Yo, good luck.
Yeah,
Good luck out there.
for sure. I'm gonna peace out. It was nice talking to you.
Yes,
today.
yes, awesome. Catch you.
Bye.
Good luck.
Catch you.
Yes. Okay, so accountability is how can we meet up, right? How can we evaluate? What's the standard? Last but not least, the consequences. What happens if we done well? What happens if we do not do well? So we have 6 people here, okay? And I think this is something that we can do as 2 groups. So why don't we take a vote here? If that's something that you want to do here, right? I want to be able to do together. But if you think next week it's something that you're not ready for yet, please feel free to vote B. So A is you're willing to get into an accountability group for 2 groups, I'm guessing, because we have 2 groups of 3s. To practice win-win, start from us, right? Practice win-win, and then extend to other areas of our lives. And B is that you wish to leave out for this one. Okay, let's see.
What is 2?
Yeah, B is you want to, I guess, leave out the accountability part. You don't wish to participate, and then we can do something else for you. But I just want to make sure, right, everyone's comfortable with moving forward with this accountability as win-win, and we are knowing that what we're getting ourselves into here. Okay, yeah, that's totally okay. So for instance, you said she would not be able to join next week. That's totally okay, for instance. I can see what to do. Okay, let's give it 5 more seconds. Alice says A. Yes, thank you. End the poll. Let's show results. So 3% voted, and I'm voting A. Okay, so I'll stop sharing now. If you cannot participate, you can please just let me know, and then I won't assign you to a group. But I want to just make sure, right, that before we assign each other, that we know we're getting into. Because truly, I believe this is something that's very, very beneficial. Let's stop sharing now, pausing the